Wuthering Heights, the newest film from director Emerald Fennell. It is based on a book, on an 1847 novel called Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. But the novel is old. 1800s, okay? I didn't know this when I saw some posters for this movie, Wuthering Heights. My girlfriend was the one who was like, you don't know this movie's based on a book? Like, everyone's read the book. It's like a famous tragedy. It's like on the scale of like Romeo and Juliet and stuff. And I didn't know that. But I was like, okay, Jacob Elordi is in it. Margot Robbie is in it. Both actors that I think are fully capable of leading a film like this. I think Margot Robbie is gorgeous and incredibly talented. Jacob Elordi is also incredibly gorgeous and very talented. And I saw the trailer and I thought it looked pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Some of those shots were absolutely incredible. But I will say, right, I'm a dude. It's a Valentine's Day movie. It's February. There's always movies like this that come out that try to get that Valentine's Day crowd, right? And because of that, I'm a little cautious about it, just because a lot of these movies, sometimes they may not be for me. However, maybe the last 3-4 years of Valentine's Day movies, the movies I have seen are pretty good. They're pretty competent, and I think they're both really entertaining for females, but also for men. And I also think with Wuthering Heights being based on such a grand, amazing novel that is critically and commercially acclaimed, I was like, I think there's a little bit more hope that I can have for this movie, along with the addition of Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. I think this movie might be pretty good. The reviews then came out, and not the best reviews, at least from the YouTubers that I have seen. I don't really read like the reviews from like traditional legacy media. I care more about the YouTube reviews. And I was a little bit more concerned, but I was like, you know what? Plenty of movies, right, that I've gone to go see that didn't get the best reviews, but I still enjoyed it. And I'm curious about the movie. I'm going to go see it. And yes, I'm a dude, but disclaimer, I love a lot of the chick flicks, okay? Movies like Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, The Notebook. I'm totally down for that. They're amazing films, okay? And I think they're movies that they cater to women, I guess, but I think if you're a dude, it's in your best interest to like these movies because you really get to understand the female psyche in a way. But also, I think they're movies with really powerful and empowering men as well. Like, these movies can be for men too. I really think so. On top of the fact that they're incredible films on their own, right? Even though they may be considered more like chick flicks. Hell, a movie If I Stay, that's a movie that I really enjoy, and that's more of like a Hunger Games type chick flick. I guess, I don't know. There's no other better way to describe it other than that. Like, it's like the junior novel type of movie, right? Adaptation. Same thing with like what's that movie? The one with the cancer, Fault in Our Stars. There it is. Even I enjoyed that movie. So I think I'm in a good spot, okay? I have the potential to enjoy a movie like Wuthering Heights, right? Like, I'm not some 40-year-old middle-aged white dude who just would never ever see these types of movies and has to do it because he's a movie reviewer. Like, no. And I gotta say, given the title of this video and sort of the thumbnail and what this video is going for, what you think it's gonna go for, this video isn't entirely going to be about a review of Wuthering Heights, but it is the impetus for it. So I saw this movie, right? And about maybe halfway into it, it was fine. Like, I would say it's more than fine. It was pretty compelling. And then around the beginning of the third act of the film just started completely losing me. Why did this film lose me, right? And to be fair, both my girlfriend and I were both very frustrated with this movie. We were borderline going to walk out, but we had like maybe 25-ish minutes left of the movie, and so we were like, you know what, let's just stay. We should have walked out, but we stayed. Why did this film lose me? The simple fact is the movie's intense focus and gratuitous use of sexual and explicit imagery and scenes ended up devaluing this film. And it showed me that doing all of that in movies more often than not tends to degrade the movie. Look, if I'm going into a movie like 50 Shades of Grey, I'm going to expect those types of things, right? Like that is the reason for that movie. That's different. Or even something like pornography. Like you go to watch porn to see that stuff. That's the whole point. You don't go to porn to see a fully fleshed out story and meaningful character development. Like you're not there for that. You're there for something else. Same thing with 50 Shades of Grey or other movies that tend to be more like that. Wuthering Heights is a tried and true love tragedy. Like it has this sort of grandeur and expectation of the likes of Romeo and Juliet, right? The likes of The Notebook, right? Like these tragedies. And the thing about it is that this movie was fully capable of doing that. It had, I think, a really compelling hook. These two characters that have known each other since childhood, and they really bonded, and they had this love for each other. And it's that classic thing, right, where a female and a male, young female and male, they're friends, and they grow up together, but they don't want to ruin their friendship, right? They don't want to break it almost. They feel like this kind of brotherly and sisterly sort of relationship, but it kind of blurs the lines a little bit, and one of them wants to break that, right? But they're too afraid of losing that other person, right? Or just kind of pushing it too far. That's classic, okay? But somehow then you insert it with this desire for this lust, this like just ferocious, like animalistic lust that these characters start portraying, which completely, I think, contradict the beauty and the innocence of these characters. The dialogue and the story and the arcs that these characters were building towards, it just didn't make any sense for the movie to have like this exaggerative, sexual, explicit imagery and scenes. Like it just doesn't warrant that. Maybe if the movie just did it a little bit, right? I'm just going to spoil the movie, okay? Like, I don't care. I'm just going to spoil it. There's this scene, very important scene in the movie, where Margot Robbie's character is like masturbating behind this like boulder, they live on like the coast or something, and she's like masturbating behind this boulder, and Jacob Elordi's character, and this is when they're like, I think in their late teens, maybe early 20s, I think. And Jacob Elordi's character notices that, and he's sort of going towards her, right? He's allured by her. He obviously wants to engage in sex with her, right? He does want to do this stuff. But they're both sort of not really trying to go for it with each other, even though they both know. And the thing about it too is that they haven't even declared their love for each other on an emotional level, right? And so I get that the director, the way that this adaptation, because I have heard that this movie's adaptation is not even accurate to the book. So clearly the writer, and Emerald Fennell, I think she also was the screenwriter for the film, took a lot of liberties. And I get that the whole lust and the whole sexual fantasy of this movie is a metaphor to their desire for romantic love. Like I get that they're both supposed to be the same, right? Like the reason why this physical lust is so intense is because of their really strong emotional bond and love. Like I totally get that, but there's a reason why in sort of grander society, we don't really put too much focus on the physical and more focus on the emotional. There's a reason for that, but we're going to put that aside for now. But yes, so there's this really important scene. Jacob Elordi's character finally, Heath Finch, I think is his name. Heathcliff, there it is. He goes to her, and then she gets freaked out, and then she tries to push him away, and then he kind of pulls her. He's really tall, and so he gets like with one finger, like he picks her up like by the dress and like pulls her up to his height, and it's a really intense scene. And like we were in the theater with like, you know, a variety of females in the theater, and I could just sense that there was this female group behind us, and they were like giggling and stuff like that. And so this was supposed to be a scene, right, where it's like, oh, like the guy is doing a very manly thing and picking her up and being physical, and they don't really do anything after that. But like that alone, if they would have left it at that, right? And maybe done a couple, just one more kiss scene, but there's a lot of tongue in this film too, which is just like weird. It's softcore porn. This movie is that. It just essentially is that. And so that's the annoying part. But maybe if they just would have left it at that, right? And left everything else to our imagination. Because the thing about the greatest of romance stories and the greatest of just romance movies, right? It's all about what is left to the imagination. That is where the true greatness lies. And it's about restraint. That's how you end up making a very compelling film. And the movie just went so far, obviously having multiple scenes of them just really engaging in really dirty things, like he's eating her out and she's like sucking on his finger, and the tongue thing, and you know, an actual full-on, almost like it wasn't even romantic sex. It just got to the point where they were just doing it for the sake of doing it. And then he eventually decided to get with her sister because in order to enact revenge on her, and it just becomes really toxic, and he's doing weird stuff with her to try to make a point to Margot Robbie's character because she is married to this other dude, and it's just like, and that it's just getting to the point where he's doing things that are just way out of character, I think, you know. It just, and I get that they're trying to deconstruct these characters and trying to show that they're flawed and they're toxic. Like, I get that. I get it. But the whole focus on the sex thing just completely soiled or spoiled, whatever, both. Just completely did a disservice to the grandeur and to the sentimental value of this movie. And the thing about the movie is that it's trying to do both things. It's trying to be a very epic romance movie, the likes of Pride and Prejudice, the likes of Romeo and Juliet, while also being 50 Shades of Grey. And it's like, I think this movie has proven that, I'm sorry, I mean, I'm sure there's a formula out there where you can do both, but it is very, very difficult for you to do that, near impossible. And so therefore, you should just not try at all and focus on one, right? I think this movie is a testament to that. And I just wish it would have been more like a Pride and Prejudice. I just wish it would have lived up more to what that novel is to a lot of people and what that novel means and what it represents. Like, I was hoping for that. And the thing about it is that even on a cinematic level, the movie is trying to be grand. There's this shot, I think it's in the trailer, but it's where Margot Robbie's character, you know, they both sort of left each other. They both sort of betrayed each other early on in their lives. And she goes off and marries this dude. And eventually Jacob Elordi's character comes back. He's like rich and stuff. And she's out looking for him. And there's this fog and misty scene. And he just appears like in the very, very faint background. And there's just this beautiful like image of him. And he's just in the background. It's out of focus, but it looks beautiful. And then it focuses on him and the fog just clears up and it's him. And he looks impeccable. But the cinematography of that scene is insane, dude. Him riding on a horse, going to her, going to his love. The music is beautiful. The scenery, there's these really intense red hues and really beautiful blues. And the color of this movie is incredible. Oh, and that's why it's so infuriating, because it's shot so beautifully and intentionally. And you're like, yeah, this movie is supposed to be on the Pride and Prejudice level, right? It's supposed to be on that level. Unfortunately, it then resorts to just being a 50 Shades of Grey type movie, and it diminishes the beauty and the grandeur of that cinematography, of what it's shooting for, right? No pun intended. And so that's what's infuriating, right? Is from a story standpoint, all that sex stuff just completely kills all of that, all the tone, and even the end scene of the movie is supposed to be incredibly poetic and powerful with Jacob Elordi's character on top of Margot Robbie's character, because she died. That's a tragedy, right? And she died. It is a very Romeo and Juliet type film. You know, she sort of died not like purposefully. She was trying to kill the baby that she was going to have with the guy that she married because rightfully so, right? Heathcliff's character is like, he's mad that she's pregnant with that other guy's child, right? And so she's trying to not feed herself because she wants the baby to die, but she ends up killing herself. And then in the process, not intentionally, and then getting a disease. And it's very tragic. It's awful. And it's nobody's fault, right? Like that's what makes it a tragedy. I get it, right? There's all these external factors and sort of that unspoken aspect of two people trying to be honest with each other, but at the same time being very guarded, right? And just sort of thinking that the other person doesn't want them. I get it. Like that's all fine and dandy, but like you mix it with all this softcore porn and you're just like, I'm supposed to take this seriously? Like that end scene is supposed to be epic as hell. And again, he's saying incredibly poetic things. And I'm just like, this is not hitting the mark because of the 30 minutes of screen time that you spent on them just licking each other and lusting each other up. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't mix well. And so it's bizarre. And I just think this movie has definitely proved to me that you really can't do both. And again, I know there's a permutation of a movie out there where you can do both. I'm sure that exists. This is a failed attempt. It just is. And so that's why it's just much safer to go the Pride and Prejudice route or to go the 50 Shades of route. Because the 50 Shades of Grey route, I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. I was like, you know what? It's fine. I know what I'm going in for, and I'm still trying, I can sort of extract some form of story or higher value theme to the movie, even with all that sex stuff. But that's because it knows what it is. This movie is just trying to fully commit to both, and it just doesn't mix well. And I think it just ruins the innocence and the beauty and the power of the story with all this sex stuff. It's weird. It's just, it just doesn't feel right too from a like, and I get it. I know that people in the 1800s did weird shit. I know, okay? Like we've been doing this shit for centuries. But it just feels like a modern movie that's taking place in the 1800s. It just is weird, and it's because of all that sex stuff. So it's just bizarre. And I think this movie has definitely just sealed the deal for me. And it's all about less is more. Less is more. What you don't show, right? Like I saw someone on Twitter, on X, pointed out this scene from Pride and Prejudice where Darcy, he's holding the hand, he's sort of taking Elizabeth to the carriage, and he's doing the manly thing, right? The chivalrous thing. He's helping her up to the carriage and everything, and he lets her go. He lets her hand go very softly, but with care. And he has this coldness to his face at the same time. Because again, right, Pride and Prejudice, right? It's Pride and Prejudice. Like these characters have extreme distaste for each other and distrust, but they have this very profound love and respect for one another. Like it's weird, right? And it's this contradiction where one is too prideful, one is too prejudiced, right? Like beautiful stuff here, right? And these characters show that. But at the same time, there's this complexity because in this very beautiful chivalrous act that Darcy's doing, it's physical, right? It's a very, very small physical thing. It's not tongue stuff. It's not full on grinding. It's not softcore porn. It's just the simple man holding that female's hand, right? And helping her, giving her a helping hand, right? But we know why he's doing that. It's because he loves her, right? From a very pure sentimental standpoint. But there is this underlying sort of desire for longing, right? When they're in the rain and they're having that argument and they're looking at each other, that iconic scene in the rain, right? Where they both have this incredible misunderstanding, right? That leads to them to just sort of distance themselves and get angry at each other. The way they're looking at each other just screams lust, right? But they don't go for it. They don't start fucking, you know what I mean? Like it's all about the eyes. It's all about what we know. We know that they want to do that stuff to each other. We know it, but we don't have to see it, right? We just sort of tease it, and that will always be infinitely better than showing it. It just will. I mean, I don't want to say that because, again, there's movies out there that are very explicit and they can get away with it. But there is something to be said about that subtlety, right? About what you don't show and just tease it. We know they want to eat each other up. We know they do. But you can show that while also prioritizing this longing and very sincere and honest and pure love, right? Another example too, and this is sort of on the other end of the spectrum in terms of like sex and sort of explicit imagery in films, is The Crow. The Crow is a romance movie, essentially, right? The Crow, Eric Draven, he comes back from the dead to avenge the death of his fiancée. I think he was married to her, but I think it was, they might have married that day, I think, because they died on Halloween. They were both murdered by these gang members. And there was the scene where the gang members sort of invade their apartment and they murder them. There is this huge implication. We definitely know it's a fact that these guys, they raped his wife, his fiance, whatever she was. I don't remember. And we didn't see it. And this gang member is just sort of teasing her and saying all this heinous shit. And you're just disgusted by him. And we don't see it, but we imagine it, right? We all do, okay? And it makes it so much more powerful. And boy, it just, that movie really sealed the deal for me too. And just being like, my God, imagination is more powerful than what we see. It just is. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the greatest horror films of all time. I remember before I watched that movie, I was like, oh, this movie's going to be incredibly bloody. It's going to be crazy. It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you watch it and there is nothing like that in the movie. It's just all implied. And anything that does happen that's heinous is just kind of off camera, just kind of slightly there, but like you can't really see what's going on. And it's all about the imagination. And yet it is one of the greatest horror movies ever, right? I'm telling you, man, Atonement, one that has a very, very intense, very lustful scene. It does it in the most sincere and like discreet and subtle way possible, right? That iconic image of James McAvoy's character having intercourse with Keira Knightley's character, and she's like on this like kind of library shelf, right? Like, and it's just beautiful, and her legs are spread, and like just looks beautiful, and like, and you don't even see it fully. You don't even see it, but it's done in this beautiful artistic way. The sex scenes in Wuthering Heights have no artistry to them. They just really don't. They don't. They're plainly shot. It literally does feel like softcore porn. Like that's just the way that they're shot. They're shot like porn scenes. It's just not right, man. It's just not right. It's like you put all this effort to shoot the movie in this beautiful cinematic way, and then you shoot the sex scenes like whatever. Because there's so many great shots in that movie, dude. Oh, it's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating. So less is more. Imagination is more powerful than what we see. Those are the things that are tried and true. They're facts, okay? And there might be a world out there where a movie came out called Wuthering Heights that perfectly balanced the really lustful and the horniness with the emotion and the sincerity and the grandeur of what this love story is supposed to be. Maybe there's a world where both of those ideas were perfectly blended. Maybe there's a movie we're going to get in the future that perfectly blends those two things. Wuthering Heights is not it. And it just goes to show, once again, it's just better to do that more subtle approach, right? That focus more on the longing, right? That sort of like, I don't want to call it repression because, it just sounds awful, but it's like, it's kind of what it is partly, right? Like that restraint, that's what makes something powerful, right? And it makes the audience yearn for it too, right? And that's what keeps us engaged with the movie, because we know that these, whatever movie you want to put, in this example, it's like we know that these two characters want to eat each other alive in the bedroom, but we don't need to see that because we know that they want to do that, and instead we prioritize the emotion. because that, at the end of the day, will always be more powerful than any physical stuff. Because when you're all old and you can't even move and you can barely even thrust, what is going to be more important when that day comes? The type of love that you have with your partner, with your significant other, right? That's what's going to matter the most. Yeah, have all your fun, for sure, right? Have all your fun. But at the end of the day, it's what you feel right here that's most important. And it's what fuels all that other stuff that you do, right? 100%. But in art, man, imagination, man. Leave it to imagination. You know, let's prioritize the longest. This movie could have been. It could have been it. Could have been it, and it wasn't. So those are my thoughts on Wuthering Heights and just sort of my commentary on movie writing and movie themes and movie making and just with these romance films and sex and everything. Those are my thoughts. Okay. I don't know. What do you have to say? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Did you like Wuthering Heights? What about it did you enjoy? Let me know. Give this video a like if you like, dislike it if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content and you want to see more stuff like this. If it's your birthday, happy birthday to you, you beautiful creature. But I think that's it for me. You all take care, stay safe, and until next time, I love you.